The debate of whether clear-cut rules can be made and applied to racing has been going on for some time. Mercedes driver George Russell has been involved in a couple of incidents during the last 2 races, and he has pointed out a few inconsistencies in the way the rules and guidelines have been applied. I'm your host Dillon Shelley, and first up on Formula World, is Russell a victim of FIA's double standards or his own bias? During the Grand Prix in Austria, Russell earned a penalty after being involved in an incident with Red Bull's Sergio Perez that ultimately led to the latter's retirement. Many felt that the penalty was a result of the guidelines being followed strictly without taking into account the specificities of the incident. In an interview pre-race in France, Russell had pointed this out while making the case for judging moves in a more subjective manner. With my incident with Checo in Austria, to the letter of the law, I was in the wrong and I deserved the penalty. But racing is a very dynamic sport. You just need to, I don't want to say look at case by case, but it's not quite as simple as saying this is what it says in the regulations and this is what we're going to stick to when it's a battle as such. He had called for more open-mindedness then. I do think we need a bit more open-mindedness between all of us, not just the race director, but we need to work together on this. This week in France, he was once again involved in a close battle with Sergio Perez. At one point, Russell went for a move on the inside of a corner, and Perez went off the track while seemingly avoiding action. Despite cutting the corner, Perez stayed ahead and wasn't asked to hand the position to Russell. The suggested reason behind no intervention from the FIA was that Perez didn't have enough room on the outside to stay within track limits. Russell highlighted his disappointment about the fact that Perez was not asked to give up the position in the post-race press conference and while speaking to Sky Sports. I was pretty disappointed not to be able to keep that position. I was down the inside, I had my front wheels in front of his rear wheels, and to the letter of the law, it was my corner. He squeezed me a bit onto the curb, he went wide and kept his position. The rules are pretty clear. If your front tyres are in front of a driver's rear tyres, you have the right to the corner. The letter of the law that Russell is referring to are the recently issued driving standards guidelines. As per these guidelines, once the overtaking driver gets his front wheel significantly alongside the other driver's car by the apex of the corner, the overtaking driver must be given sufficient room. Perez tried to stay on his line and had to run wide and cut the corner as he did not have enough room on the outside, but Russell crucially made the corner on the inside and stayed within track limits, which seems to suggest that he had sufficient room. The question that arises is if Perez not being left room on the outside was a good enough reason to let his corner cutting go unpunished. As per the updated guidelines, when a driver is overtaking on the inside and he is significantly alongside the car in front, then all he needs to do is cleanly remain within the limits of the track. It says nothing explicitly about leaving room for the other driver. This is in contrast to the section about overtakes around the outside, where the move should be made in such a way that the car being overtaken must be capable of making the corner while remaining within the limits of the track. A very important point here is that these so-called letters of the law, according to the FIA, may be taken into account by the FIA stewards and are merely guidelines to assist the stewards in their decision-making and are non-binding. All stewards' decisions will be made pursuant to the FIA International Sporting Code read in conjunction with all relevant regulations applicable to Formula 1. Fast feed. Alpine's Fernando Alonso thinks that they played the French Grand Prix like a chess game. We tried to position the McLarens close to us and try to have some clean air in front, so all in all it was a good Sunday. Meanwhile, McLaren's Lando Norris admitted that he was trying to keep up with Fernando for the whole race and pushing like hell the whole time. I was trying to save the tyres and push and save and push, whereas I felt like Fernando was chilling the whole race. Haas driver Kevin Magnussen doesn't think that they were in the fight for the points even if he wasn't involved in an incident because they had more degradation than their competitors. The pace in the beginning of the stints was great, but we dropped off massively. Ferrari team principal Mattia Binotto stated that their car is great, gentle with tyre management, the drivers as well are doing the proper job. I think we come out from here Le Castellet with full confidence in our package, in our driver's capacity and our speed. We need to turn the page and look to Hungary and do a 1-2 there. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner has said that, look, if you would have told me that going into last year that with the biggest regulation change in 40 years and with the effort we put into last year's championship, that we'd be sitting here with 8 Grand Prix victories, 2 sprint victories and leading both championships with 64 and 82 points, that would have been beyond my wildest expectations. And for Aston Martin's Sebastian Vettel, it is clear that they need more grip. Do you think Perez should have had to give Russell the place following their incident during the French Grand Prix? Head over to my community page to vote in the poll and let me know what you think in the comments. And if you liked this video, feel free to subscribe and check out my others for all the latest in the world of Formula 1.